Yes, absolutely. So the Ukrainians reported that there was Russian shelling on the route that had been previously agreed to by both the Ukrainians and Russians to keep that route safe. The Russians claim that it was the Ukrainians, so we have sort of this back and forth. Of course, we can kind of guess whose version makes more sense because from the Ukrainian point of view, they absolutely want the IAEA team there for a number of reasons, whereas the Russians have a number of reasons to be concerned about what the IAEA team may report to the rest of the world.
Well, one of two reactors has been shut down due to shelling. What do we know about this and the impact it's having on operations?
That's right. There's actually 6 reactors at this nuclear power plant, and 4 of them have previously been shut off. We only have 2 operating now, and this morning, due to the shelling, this morning in Ukrainian time, another one was shut off because the shelling interrupted power and the backup power. Because there is one reactor still running, it's able to retain power to the cooling system so that there's no danger in terms of a meltdown. But if shelling were to take out that last reactor, then that is when we become quite concerned about an emergency.
What guarantees have the inspectors had for their safety while they carry out their work at the plant, and what can they do to ensure safety of the plant?
Yes, well, both the Ukrainians and Russians promised to ensure that the route would be safe and the safety of the inspectors while the plant would be taken care of. But there is some concern about this, given the fact that there was shelling on the route, and the team actually had to be held for a couple of hours at one of the checkpoints until it could be cleared. So, I am a little concerned because people seem to be thinking, oh, the IAEA is coming, they're going to make it all better. That's not the case, unfortunately. The IAEA team, basically, they can inspect and they can report. They're going to look at the physical characteristics of the plant, see to what extent there are safety issues. They're going to look at the electricity backup and secondary backup systems to see to what extent there might be, a meltdown if there were further shelling to the plant. And most of all, they're going to look at the worker safety because there has been a lot of concern about, for example, the Russians turning away people coming in to replace the staff so that you have staff there on 16-hour, 24-hour, even longer shifts, which is not safe because, you've got to have redundant personnel. There's been, some reports have come out saying that the workers have been there at gunpoint and that there have been threats to their physical safety and to their family safety. And so making sure that their safety of the workers is also really important. And that's something that the team can do. But they can't fix the essential problem that the Russians are using this as a military installation.
And will the team be meeting with officials from either or both sides of the war, and what could they possibly achieve?
Yes, well, they've already met with Zelensky, and they've met with Ukrainian officials. They will be meeting with Russian officials at the nuclear power plant. In fact, I believe it's already occurring as we speak. And so, what they're trying to do, their goal is to establish a permanent presence at the plant, which would do a number of things. One, they could be able to, of course, make sure that monitoring is up at all times. For example, remote monitoring by the IAEA has collapsed a number of times, and it's been hard to get back up. They can also help ensure that the Russians are not using this as a military base of operations. And of course, that's why people say the Russians aren't going to agree to having a permanent presence there. So, in the couple of days that they're planning to be there, that's great. They can inspect, they can report. They're probably going to have, quite negative reports, in my opinion. And they're going to be asking for, they'll have lots of recommendations. But I don't believe the Russians are going to let them stay there for any length of time.
Well, the Red Cross has called for all fighting near the plant to stop, warning that in the event of a nuclear leak, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to provide humanitarian assistance. That's a real concern. But will they be listened to?
Probably not. Unfortunately, not by the Russians. And look, the director of the World Health Organization has said the same thing in recent days. Lots of people have been making the same argument. And it is true if there is a nuclear disaster at Zaporizhzhia, what we wouldn't see a Chernobyl type of event, but we could see worst case scenario of a Fukushima type event where you have significant radiation, into the air and into the environment, maybe 20-kilometer, 30-kilometer radius, which can affect people's human health, environmental health. And it would be almost impossible in that type of situation for first responders to come in. So let's say there's a fire at the plant. Well, if you have a fire at a nuclear power plant, especially if it's because of active shelling, how do firefighters get in there to stop it? So the ability of first responders to get in when you have this type of nuclear disaster, it's very, very limited.
And what might the implications be for the rest of the world if a nuclear accident were to occur?
Well, there have only been 2 level 7 nuclear disasters, Chernobyl and Fukushima, and we could certainly see, another level 7 disaster. And, as I said, because of the design of Chernobyl, which it had no containment, essentially, we wouldn't see that because these are modern nuclear power plants. They have containment, so we wouldn't see that type of disaster. That doesn't mean, however, we couldn't see significant release of radioactive material that would create a grave threat to human health and the environment in that area.
Maria Rost Rublee, thank you so much for talking to us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.